Elden Ring Nightreign finally released a while ago, and considering me and Arak posted a short where we opened the pre-ordered collector's edition, you know damn well we played since day one. Actually, me and Arak had our 9th anniversary the next day, and we spent it mostly playing Nightreign with our friend. It's the goals. By far, I have spent around 115 hours on the game, managed to get the platinum around 65-hour mark, and Arak a few days after me, after being cock-blocked from the Fell Omen raid by the RNG. And that's a fair amount, I dare to say. What do I have to say about this game after all of that? Obviously, spoilers. What I have to say is that this game is addicting as fuck. I swear to fucking god, since its release, there haven't been a day we wouldn't plan a session against, like, the next Nightlord or towards the next trophy or anything. And once our whole group got the platinums, we moved on to another friend, with his own platinum. And when we didn't have a session planned, we were having collective withdrawals. It was crazy. And I know, in my Souls rating video I said I don't like Elden Ring, and that still holds true, but the changes done to Nightreign make this game so much more fun. You can play seamlessly with your friends without being invaded after every 10 minutes. You can simply send invites instead of shitty password summoning. You have, in my humble opinion, pretty cool roster of playable characters with preset builds instead of overthinking builds on your own, especially if you are constantly in a rush. And the breakneck speed works like a charm. When the Nightreign was announced, I did think that this game simply cannot work, and that the genre blend is going to be really clashing against each other, but I was pleasantly surprised by how well they actually blend. We did an episode of AAA Unscripted after I got my hands on the network test code and we got to try the beta early, where we both talked about this in particular and how the test gave us more hype than any trailer could, ever. Elden Ring Nightreign was going to be epic. The characters, the pace, the simplified mechanics, all of it. Well, at least most of it. Let me talk about it for a bit then. While in other games you had starting classes, here these characters work as your preset builds. John Nightreign, aka Wilder as your standard greatsword wielding knight, bow build Iron Eye, Big Bonk Raider, etc. There is 8 Nightfarers in total as of the time of writing the script, and as much as I was worried about the lack of variety in characters, all of them seem pretty good to me. Stat-based builds are all there. They all have their unique weapon classes, but the game also allows you to use whatever you want. They have their own unique skills and ults that don't feel remotely similar, and each of them offer quality worth picking them for. I can confidently say that I do not think that a single of these characters is bad. For a lot of time I thought, for example, that Guardian plays like ass, with his non-existent dodges and halberd proficiency, even though I loved him in the network test. But when I picked him up again for the Champion's Path trophy, he was actually pretty good. A character with a lot of HP that works as perfect bait, tanking through the onslaught while your team focuses on damage. And quite frankly, his damage is also pretty good, considering that he has a good scaling in strength. And since I like to play as support characters as well, I grew very fond of Iron Eye. He became my main character to play as, like 99% of the matches. Very useful long-range build with proficiency with bows, ability to create a temporary weak point on enemies, which also works as additional dodge, and it's super satisfying to use when an enemy charges at you. And the ultimate still works very well to stagger bosses out of their attacks. I know he isn't the only one capable of that, but it's still useful as fuck. Also, don't judge me, but he looks and sounds absolutely hot. And that's just the truth. In fact, the design team ate and left no crumbs when it came to character design. From Wilder's armor and tunic with Drakkar motif, Iron Eye's elven ranger cape, this beautiful garb that Revenant wears, to Pinion Folk armor of Guardian, they all look amazing. Very cosplayable, might I add. After killing the final boss Heolstor, we are also given access to legacy skins. aka skins from Dark Souls 1 to 3. Each character gets 2 of these, and personally I think they made overall pretty good choices when it came to which character skins we get. Artie or Faram for Wilder, Shanalot or Carla for Recluse, Onion Bro or Havel for Rider. Yeah, I think those fit their characters pretty well. The only shame is that FromSoft doesn't have the rights over Sekiro or Bloodborne anymore, because I could totally see Duchess as already way too similar Lady Maria, or Iron Eye as Phase 3 Genichiro Ashina. That would be just so fucking cool. My only disappointment might be the Remembrance skins because of how similar they look to the base ones, but in the end of the day, I don't really care. I can play as Sunbro if I want to, so I'm happy with that. I did mention the breakneck pace. It might be funny to say breakneck speed about a game where a round takes around 40 to 50 minutes, but no matter where you go or what you plan on fighting, there really is no time left for doubts and to stand around. Most of the time, the only time you actually get to stand in one place is when the boss is spawning, or when you're waiting for the flame border to disappear after night bosses. The small map that gradually closes really creates this exciting tension that you have to think about a route where you want to go from the moment you spawn while still holding onto your Spirit Hawk, while immediately marking on the map with said route and making decisions that might completely flip the outcome of the expedition. I was once again skeptical at first. I suck at scheduling shit, so I thought I would really find it unintuitive. But somehow I ended up leading most of my groups through the nights, only exception being when Arak and I played together. Then we both sort of made decisions together and co-led whoever was with us. It's like a 40 minutes adoption trial. He marks the first closest thing we need, I do the second, we make a route across the map, and you know, we go all of these landmarks sort of randomly, but we have very well planned path. Well, this randomization of the map is actually much more plain and simple than we thought it might be. The map is essentially the same, only placements of the camps and churches gets shuffled, but also not completely randomly because it has like preset seeds that the game decides to pick from. So you can memorize all these layouts pretty easily after quite a few rounds. The only difference is the layout done via the Shifting Earth events, but those actually have also preset positioning of things, so yeah. The church at the edge of the volcano with Red Wolf of King's Consort or whatever, yeah, it never changes. Nor does the Frost Dragon on your way to the peak of the mountain. Speaking of the mountain, this reward totally sucks. It's useful against a single Nightlord only, which is Caligo, and no one else, and even then the difference didn't feel that high. But that might be just me expecting more. The only event that feels sort of ridiculous to me at parts is the Rotted Wood. Not because it would be hard, in fact, we found the reward tree by complete accident a few times, but because if you have that event, your Night 2 boss is always in the middle of the forest, and if you didn't have time for the reward or decided not to get it, you're gonna fight the boss while having your HP constantly drained by the Scarlet Rot. And I know you might say, oh, but this isn't too bad. Like, yeah, sure, but being forced to fight the boss while being permanently poisoned doesn't necessarily scream proper balancing, you know? Personally, I or anyone I played with caused us to fail the night boss because of it, but we were down because of it here and there. Plus, I can imagine new players struggling with this one. But I suppose that if you play enough to get that event at all, you should know how to fight under these conditions anyways. And it is true that Scarlet Rot has been extremely nerfed compared to the one in the base game, so it's not really as bad as it sounds, but you know what I mean, I have to nitpick on some things here and there. To go back to the level layout and its randomization, I am at odds because on one side I am more than happy that we could learn the map well enough to know which camps we can skip and which are easily abusable for quick runes, but on the other, this further elevates like one of my biggest issues with the base Elden Ring, which is the severe lack of variety in anything. Limveld is still just Limgrave. You get the same Everjails, same jail bosses, same roaming bosses, and if you're lucky in the Shitfest lottery, you get one of these as night boss as well. I knew this game, obviously, is from reused assets from Elden Ring, but for the love of everlasting fuck, is it just annoying after a few rounds? Fighting the same bosses I was already exhausted of in the main game. Even in my video, I did complain about the ever-present tree avatars, sentinels, or crucible knights. This time you can just add dragonkin soldiers and red wolves on top of that in this quite literal clusterfuck. And no, I'm not quite fond of Margit either. Fought this fucker more times than I would ever like to admit. Like, I thought that after finishing the phase game, if I never see him ever again, it's still too early, you know? There are, I think, 6 bosses from Dark Souls as well. One from each of these, and like, I get some of these choices. Like, you want a big chunky boss for the entire team, but I don't know, couldn't they pick bosses people actually like? Not Mr. Solemn or Goylelan, that's for sure, because I haven't heard anyone claim they like this boss the entire time. Same with Gaping Dragon. I suppose Dark Souls 1 in particular, doesn't have much to offer when it comes to engaging boss fights. I wonder why they didn't bring back Menace, for example. They already brought back the hardest boss in Dark Souls 3. Why not the one from Dark Souls 1? Or maybe Calamite? Is he not good enough to be compared with the anal prolapse causing Ancient Dragon? From Dark Souls 2, we got Smelter Demon, which I actually really like. Our boy looks fantastic with these graphics. We finally get big enough boss room to fight him in, and I think he is overall pretty fun. They even kept the gimmick of his tummy furnace burning you when you're close. They kept all the gimmicks, actually, which makes me appreciate it a little bit more because I love these. These unique traits are something that makes them stand out and makes them very unique. This gimmick, the fact that you can still cut off Gaping Dragon's tail to get an actual weapon, and that you can destroy Freya's heads with enough consecutive attacks. It's just really cool that they kept it, you know? Let's not talk about Freya though. I was so hyped for her, but I haven't enjoyed her fight neither of the times I fought her. The fact that only her heads can be damaged was just not fun even in the team of 3. The fact that she can suddenly web you to limit your movement while there is this ever-respawning army of fucking spiders that they could fill entire Woodstock Festival did not pass the vibe check. The only thing I cannot comment on is if you can actually de-aggro the spiders with a torch. Because I didn't find one on these runs, so maybe someone else will find out for us, but again, I do not have any, information about this possibility. The boss fights that we get from Dark Souls 3 are the Dancer of the Boreal Valley and the Nameless King. I like these. They are pretty cool. I am a bit sad that we didn't get someone like the Dragon Slayer armor because he is one of my favorite bosses in the game, but Dark Souls 3 has a huge amount of fantastic boss fights, so I am not disappointed in the slightest. In fact, I still think that having Nameless King as your night boss is probably one of the best. He is very fun, even though, you have to kill King of the Storm first. He is still probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite night boss. And yeah, he is always pretty fun, and the Dancer as well. She is just as unrelentless with her spinny Beyblade attacks, but yeah. I am not disappointed in these choices, and I have probably nothing more to add. Well, these were still some of the rarer fights. Most of the time, it really was just Dragonkin Soldier or the Tree Sentinel Cavalry. Oh yeah, and a lot of Bell-Bearing Hunters, those two. And what I found funny is that we played with a friend who actually likes Elden Ring, unlike me and Arak, who do not favor it at all. And every time we would face certain bosses for the first time, even he went something like, "Oh god, this fucker again." And this was just the mantra for so many rounds. Literally the only new content in the field or overall in the game are the characters and the Nightlords. And talking about the lack of variety, it's not different when it comes to weapons. As an Iron Eye, I noticed the severe lack of any quality bow. Actually, we don't even have a legendary weapon. There is a legendary great bow of Radahn, I think, but who the fuck wants to use a great bow whose R2 takes long enough for a boss to down the entire team? I did go through the training ground chest to see what weapons are available, and at first it did seem like a lot, but in reality you have like 10 weapons per class maybe. Sometimes more, like straight swords or daggers, but some classes have less than that. You know, that just isn't much. One of the classes that have a huge amount of weapons are straight sword, but there is no Nightfarer that has proficiency in them, so like, why to have so many of them in the first place? Why not add just a few more bows or claws for Revenant, you know? And this is the same with the buffs and boss rewards, quite frankly. Overall, I think the severe lack of variety is my only major gripe that I have with this game. If you watched my Souls and Souls-likes ranking video that I did, you know that one of the big issues I had with base Elden Ring was the overwhelming amount of reused content. Mainly the roaming bosses, that oftentimes just become basic-ass enemies tossed here and there just for shits and giggles. Even more infuriating was that even main bosses got this treatment, which was in my book sort of pathetic and sad to me. Nightreign is built almost entirely from assets from Elden Ring, which I didn't mind visually, even if Elden Ring isn't my vibe just as much as Bloodborne, but the bosses were just annoying. They could have added a few more unique encounters at the end of each night instead of making third phases for the Nightlords. As if we didn't have our asses handed to us way too many times by Libra or Fulgor, who are already way too many things. Thorns in my side, rocks in my shoes, pain in the ass, and lobotomy needles in my fucking eye sockets. I mean, the Nightlords themselves are fine. Sort of, like, some of them are pretty good, like Gladius or Caligo, the dragon. They are very cool fights. Two bosses that I mentioned being pain in the ass are Libra and Fulgor. And, I have love-hate relationships with these because on one side, I love their vibes, their soundtracks. They are so fucking cool. But our team never gets back the entire 6 hours of trying to kill Libra for the first time, and I am still bitter about that. I still have a soft spot for them, despite their ability to origami my body into a little circus stand they then decide to light on fire. I still like them very much. Who I am not fond of is the Sentient Pest.
To je prostě strašný, že jakmile seš targeted, vole, tak na tebe vysypou úplně všechen ansábl svýho bullshitu, který ty vole, jim vývojáři dali do repertoáru prostě. Tenhle boss je ekvivalent toho tupýho dítěte, vole, který bouchá hlavou o tu klávesnici, vole, a tím spouští úplně všechny útoky, vole.
Jo no.
Takhle jsem hrál Mortal Kombat, když mi bylo 10, vole, zmačkej všechny čudlíky a ono to něco udělá, vole. Kreténe tupej.
Pohodě, no tak hrám doteraz.
To be fair, já taky.
No vidíš, tak aspoň
Proto jsem v Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom dohrála jenom jednu, vole, jako storylineu. Quite frankly, they suck, and the phase transition marking charges with a shotgun blast of spells and lasers could have stayed as cut content for all I care. Phase 3 of them is gonna be an intense torture, and I can already see that. Adele is okay boss, Adele is the Gaping Jaw, and she already got a phase 3. And in all and absolute honesty, we have not beaten her yet. I don't like her enough to try, and the sensory overload of her phase 3 just fucks up my brain. I just feel like a toddler with epilepsy seizure. It's just way too chaotic for me to even try again, because it's just not making me feel very good, you know? The worst boss of the roster is undeniably the Ogre. Again, I love its design and the underwater vibes, but Jesus, this fight is a cancer with any other character than Iron Eye or Recluse. This enemy just keeps on flying around the boss room to crush any illusion of fighting it melee, and the little sleep nukes have to be destroyed before they touch the ground. The only thing this boss does for me is making excuses for my shitty sleeping schedule, because it just shows that sleeping hurts for some reason. Thank you, FromSoft, for enabling my bad habits. Last Nightlord is the night aspect, Heolstor. He can be difficult with his moveset, but I wouldn't expect anything less from the final boss of this game. The Nightlord, you know? He is also the only boss that has 2 health bars, maybe like if we do not count the Nameless King, but the only of the Nightlords. Heolstor is honestly some of the most epic shit I have ever seen. If you ever wanted me to pick a boss that is the definition of the final boss, it's him, it's this guy. He totally has the epicness of a fight like Gale, for example, who was literally so epic he had the power of lightning on his side in Phase 3. Heolstor literally floats into the sky and cuts through reality to conjure powers of the previous Nightlords. That was absolute cinema, with that epic OST in the background. Holy shit, this boss fight is amazing. He is a combination of Gale, Ludwig, and Artorias, and also wields the Moonlight Greatsword, which was a genius choice, by the way. So, the conclusion is that even though there is a really small amount of unique content, they did a great job with most of it. And as far as I'm aware, there should be a DLC coming out at the end of the year, which should introduce new Nightfarers and bosses. And saying that I am excited would be an understatement. I mentioned a lot of straight swords in the weapons roster, so maybe the next Nightfarer will have proficiency in those. Or maybe we could get a healer. A proper cleric class this time. That would be amazing, as support classes here are pretty fucking fun. And obviously, since I said my issue is with recycled bosses, I am more than happy that there's gonna be more of them introduced. It has not been said if these are night bosses or if they are Nightlords. Hopefully we can get some of each. That would be really cool to add more variety to the gameplay, because I can imagine this game being a bit stale to people who also share the sentiment of copied content or recycled content. Is Elden Ring Nightreign bad because of it? No, it's not bad by no means, but the lack of variety is still hopefully something they're gonna work on more. And as long as they're gonna be updating and adding more, I am gonna be playing it. Despite this, to me, major flaw, I still agree that it has addicting gameplay loop that is very fun. Seeing the improvement in efficiency with each consecutive run, and not being scared to take risks, like running into the zone for extra healing charge, is just so rewarding, you know? Quite frankly, I am addicted to this game. You know how I told you we all got a platinum? Well, that was a lie. Because we have a platinum and the majority of the trophies required for the second one, mostly missing just like the Champion's Path and the raids. We literally wanted to move on, but couldn't. So we decided to start a PlayStation 4 version of the Platinums, just so we have an excuse for ourselves to play more. I am more than excited for what is about to come with next updates, and maybe even other DLCs if we are ever gonna get some. We will have to wait and see. And mark my words, even though there are bugs, occasional connection issues, copied bosses, and shitty, absolutely horrible relic gambling with horrible RNG, I will still be sitting in the shrouded roundtable hold and waiting for the arrival of my fellow Nightfarers to partake in yet another expedition. I don't like these solo expeditions that much, even though the balancing is pretty good in my book, and I was quite frankly unlucky with randoms. Like the one time they both decided to kill themselves on purpose repeatedly during a centipede demon fight, which I then had to solo. But with friends, this is a joy to play. With Arak and our friend Vajo by my side, we form a certified dream team.
Hele, pingnul jsem katedrálu, ale možná by bylo super, kdybychom se vyhnuli tadyhle fortresce, která má nad sebou to torpédo, protože, vole, nebo teda to tornádo,
Jo,
protože nechci úplně řešit invady. Teoreticky vzato jste pochopili, co tím myslím.
Já si myslím, že s tím, jak fungujeme teďko my tři, tak bychom tě pochopili, i kdyby si řekl něco jako tobogan.
Jo, true. Doslova, jo.
Tebe už zase někdo úplně v prdeli, ty vole, já jsem sotva dorazila. Perfectly synchronized and reliable team I can always rely on if I get insta-killed by madness. Whether you have two friends to play with or not, I would still recommend you try Elden Ring Nightreign. It's a fun game that rewards one's skill and good time and inventory management. I can safely say that I have enjoyed all of my 100 plus hours I sunk into this game.
If you watch this channel for a while, you might be used to me and Akuma sharing a brain cell in mostly everything. But I will still cosplay Heolstor for a bit and tear through space to fit in this video with a few additions myself. Just to point out Akuma's critique, I personally don't have anything against the weapon roster here. Not only does this game by default have more weapons than any other roguelike and light out there, at least as far as I'm aware, but thanks to the endless mix and matching of weapon arts and affinities, the staffs and seals with 2 randomly selected spells, I don't think I ever saw 2 same weapons in my runs. Point I wanna add here though is that I absolutely love the story of this game. Now, see, I wasn't expecting any story at all. I'm someone who still hasn't really grasped the concept of multiplayer games having one, but that point aside, I was expecting just some small cryptic hints at something maybe, not an actual story, character stories and shit. Wilder, Iron Eye, Recluse, I love them all, even characters I don't play. Executor is one of my faves probably, and he's only my second main, which still means I play him once in 20 matches. I hope that we could see some enhancement of that in the DLC. My wishful thinking is that we could get at least 1 new map. Before the release I was expecting that this game will have a map dedicated to each part of Elden Ring's map, but that didn't happen. We got only the shifting arts, and as much as I love Crater or Noclateo, they are only a small band-aid on this gaping wound. Well, Noclateo maybe not, since the place is full on a dungeon and all, and it's absolutely amazing, visually, lore-wise and fun-wise. Even though they decided that the perfect boss to bring back for this area is the anal beat alien, which pissed me off even in the base game. And I know it did, fought him again quite recently. Oh, how I miss my grapple. But, I mean, it makes sense he's there since Noclateo is like Nox City and shit. Well, lore stuff. That said, I hope for more things done with the map. If not a new map entirely, I would love to see at least new shifting arts. Maybe something from the DLC. That could certainly be cool. Even though I know I'm gonna eat my words in a few months, because we all know that if FromSoft will add something from the Sota, it's gonna be that god fucking awful Frenzy location. I haven't yet played Shadow of the Earth 3, but just seeing the legally distinct winter lanterns that you have to solid snake your way around makes me fucking shiver. Another point that I heard that could do for a fun shifting art is some variant of Crumbling Ferrum Azula. No idea how it would work, to be honest, but it sounds cool enough for me to raise my eyebrow in anticipation. So far though, I will agree with Akuma that this game is fucking addicting. I'm snorting Nightreign content like the finest cocaine every time we are not in a match. And you know what? I know I pretty much fucked up with not releasing a AAA we recorded about our thoughts on Switch 2 and Duskbloods when the reveal trailer came out. And that's just on me and my laziness, and now it's outdated as hell, so sorry for that. But this game made me hyped for it even more. Honestly, I'm fucking hyped for Duskbloods after this. I'd save up for 2 additional Switch 2s, only for Dream Team to come back together. I know it's not going to be a PvE co-op, but more of an PvP experience, but I'm looking forward to the next experiment FromSoft will feed us. I was skeptical about Nightreign, and I got proven wrong. Not just by the network test, but even by the 200 hours we have in the game.
And this probably concludes the video. Don't know if this classifies like a proper critique or not, but whatever is the case, I hope you enjoyed it. To support us, you can like this video, comment for the algorithm, or to give your perspective about the game. Or you can subscribe for more Souls and overall gaming content in the future. We are already working on a few. I am Akuma. This was yet another relatively normal game show, and I hope to see you next time.
Guys, já jsem tady našel další court end.
Já to
Děláte si
vidím.
prdel.
Prý hroboch? What the fuck?
Aha.
Jo, vidím to. Ne, jeden iba. Si dobrý laker, ty vole. On má s tebou osobný problém, kamo.
Jo, vyloženě, on se prostě rozhodl, že ho dneska seru. No vidíš, děkuji.
Já
No
ti
teraz
dám
je na
nevidíš.
mě, takže...
Ne, to spíš jsem, to jako no vidíš, jsem říkal spíš tomu bossovi, jako, a jsem zpátky čuráku. Kdo je Stegr teďka, no?
Nemáte zač.
Jo, díky.
Děkujem.
Co teď?
Aha.
No a myslím, že tady se dostáváme k tomu, jak je tenhle boss bugnutý.
Nice. Do píči, tak dobrý build, kurva.